You think your desire to be alone is a weakness. You see your friends thriving in loud, chaotic social scenes, and you wonder what's wrong with you. You call it social anxiety, you label it depression, you try to fix yourself by forcing yourself into situations that feel like sandpaper on your soul. You are a fool, but a beloved one. You are trying to cure the symptom without understanding the cause. Your spirit is not broken. It is molting, it is shedding an old skin, and this process requires quiet and solitude. If this message has found you, it's because your higher self is tired of watching you fight against your own magnificent transformation. Let's talk about why your disappearance is not a failure, but the greatest success of your life. If this resonates, consider liking and subscribing. You believe your growing desire for solitude is a problem. You think it's depression or anxiety or some new kind of social awkwardness. You label yourself antisocial and frantically search for ways to fix yourself, to become that bubbly, outgoing person everyone seems to admire. You think that by forcing yourself into loud parties and meaningless conversations, you are being healthy. You are a fool. Your spirit is trying to save you, and you are fighting it every step of the way. If you are hearing my voice right now, it is because your soul guided you here. It is tired of watching you struggle against your own evolution. If you genuinely enjoy this kind of content, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. The first sign that you are awakening is a sudden and intense allergy to noise. I don't just mean loud sounds. I mean the noise of pointless conversation, the static of gossip, the screeching frequency of people talking without saying anything at all. You used to be able to tolerate it. You might have even enjoyed it. You were the life of the party, a social butterfly flitting from one empty conversation to another. You believed this made you interesting. You thought being surrounded by people meant you weren't alone. You were wrong. You were just lonely in a crowd, distracting yourself with chatter so you wouldn't have to face the silence within. Consider the architect. For years, his life was built around noise. Loud construction sites during the day, louder bars and social events at night. He thrived on the energy of the city. He thought the constant stimulation was a sign of a life fully lived. But one day, something shifted. He was at a rooftop party, the kind he used to love, and he felt a wave of exhaustion so profound it almost buckled his knees. The laughter sounded hollow. The stories felt rehearsed. The entire scene felt like a poorly directed play, and he was an unwilling actor. He went home early, and his friends texted him, asking if he was okay. They thought he was sick or depressed. You make this mistake constantly. You pathologize your own growth. The moment your soul asks for something deeper, you rush to label it as a disorder. You run to a doctor or a therapist and say, "Fix me. I don't enjoy the things I used to." You don't understand that your tastes are not failing. They are refining. You are developing a palate for truth, and you can no longer stomach the junk food of superficiality. The architect didn't need a pill. He needed silence. He started spending his evenings walking by the river instead of shouting over music in a bar. He began reading books he'd ignored for years. He was not withdrawing from life. He was withdrawing from noise so he could finally hear his own life's melody. Your allergy to noise is a sign that you are ready to listen. The second sign is the collapse of your social mask. You have spent your entire life building and polishing this mask. It is your persona. It is the version of you that is agreeable, successful, and always says the right thing. You have a mask for work, a mask for family, and a mask for friends. You think this is clever. You believe you are being adaptable, a social chameleon who can fit in anywhere. This is a pathetic delusion. You are not a chameleon. You are a ghost, a collection of personalities with no solid center. You have become so good at playing characters that you have forgotten who you are when the curtain falls. Think about the school teacher. She was beloved by her students and respected by her colleagues. She was always cheerful, always patient, always understanding. Her mask was one of perfect, nurturing kindness. She never had a bad day. She never showed frustration. She never admitted to being tired. For 15 years, she played this role flawlessly. Then, during a simple parent-teacher conference, the mask began to crack. A parent was blaming her for their child's poor grades, and the teacher was supposed to smile, nod, and offer solutions. That was her script. But instead, she felt a cold, hard knot of truth in her throat. She simply said, "Your son doesn't do the homework. I cannot learn for him." The words were not unkind, but they were true. They were mask off. The parent was stunned. The principal was called. The teacher felt a strange sense of relief, followed by terror. You do this foolish thing every single day. You smile when you want to scream. You agree when you fundamentally oppose. You say yes when your soul is screaming no. You call this politeness. You call it keeping the peace. It is not. It is slow-motion suicide. You are murdering your authentic self one tiny lie at a time. The teacher's mask didn't just crack that day. It shattered. She found she could no longer pretend. She started being honest with her students about the challenges of learning. She was direct with parents about their responsibility. Some people were offended. They missed the smiling, agreeable mask. But her best students, they leaned in closer. They felt her authenticity and trusted her more. When you feel your own mask becoming heavy and unbearable, do not try to repair it. Let it fall. The people who are meant to be in your life will not be scared by the face underneath. They have been waiting to meet the real you. When did you first feel your social mask start to crack? Share your story in the comments below. The third sign you are disappearing from society is that you finally see the game. All your life, you have been a player on a massive, invisible board. You played the game of office politics trying to get ahead. You played the game of family drama, picking sides and holding grudges. You played the game of social status, buying things you didn't need to impress people you didn't like. You thought these games were real life. You took your moves seriously. You celebrated your wins and mourned your losses, never realizing the entire contest was a complete fabrication. Imagine a young woman visiting her family for a holiday. In the past, these gatherings were minefields of anxiety. She would get sucked into the same old conflicts. Her mother would make a passive-aggressive comment about her career. Her uncle would start a political argument. Her cousins would compete over whose children were more successful. She used to engage. She would defend her choices, argue her political points, and feel a surge of resentment or pride. She was a pawn, and she didn't even know it. But this time, something is different. She arrives, and the game starts as it always does. Her mother makes the expected comment. Her uncle launches his tired tirade. But the young woman feels nothing. It is not that she is numb. It is that she can see the entire structure of the game. She sees her mother's comment is not about her career. It is about her mother's own unfulfilled dreams. She sees her uncle's political anger is not about principles. It is a desperate cry against his own feelings of powerlessness. She sees the cousins' boasting is a mask for their deep insecurities about their own lives. They are not villains. They are just unconscious players, prisoners of the game. You get this concept wrong and blame others. You think your boss is a tyrant or your relative is a narcissist. You cast them as the bad guys in your personal drama. You assume they are acting consciously to hurt you. This is the height of arrogance. It assumes you are the center of their universe. The truth is, they are not thinking about you at all. They are trapped in their own programming, their own loops of fear and desire. They are asleep, and you cannot reason with a sleepwalker. The young woman didn't argue. She didn't defend herself. She just listened with a quiet compassion. She offered a simple, non-committal response and changed the subject. She refused to make a move. And when you refuse to play, the game short-circuits. Her family was confused by her lack of reaction. The drama fizzled out. For the first time, she felt peace at a family gathering. This is the power you gain when you stop playing. You are not withdrawing from your family. You are withdrawing from the toxic game they force each other to play. You are choosing peace over performance. And that chosen one is a choice only the truly awake can make. In the first phase, we diagnosed the symptoms, the sudden allergy to meaningless noise, the crushing weight of your social mask, the nauseating realization that you are living inside a game you never agreed to play. You now understand that these feelings are not signs of sickness. They are the birth pangs of a new consciousness. But understanding is not enough. Now comes the hard part, the part you have been resisting with all your might. It is time for the retreat. You think this is an act of cowardice. You believe you are running away from your responsibilities. You have been taught that a good person stays and fights. But what if the battle is rigged? What if the bravest thing you can do is refuse to fight at all? The most critical reason for your disappearance is energetic. You have become a finely tuned instrument in a world that loves banging on pots and pans. Before your awakening, you were just as noisy as everyone else. You didn't notice the constant draining exchange of energy happening all around you because you were a part of it. Now you are different. You have become sensitive. You can feel it. You can feel the desperation leaking from the man who brags too loudly. You can feel the quiet sadness behind the woman with the perfect smiling life. You feel the collective anxiety simmering under the surface of a crowded mall. Consider the massage therapist. She loved her work. She had a gift for healing. People would come to her knotted with stress and leave feeling light and free. But at the end of the day, she would be so exhausted she could barely move. She felt a deep, gnawing depletion that sleep couldn't fix. She thought it was just physical fatigue from the work. You think your job is just stressful. You believe that feeling completely drained after a day's work is a normal and acceptable part of life. You accept this energetic vampirism as the price of a paycheck. This is a slave's mindset. You are trading your precious life force for currency, and you call this exchange a career. The massage therapist finally realized what was happening. She wasn't just working on muscles and tissue. She was absorbing the emotional and psychic pain of her clients. They would leave their energetic garbage with her, and she, with her open heart, would unconsciously take it all in. She wasn't sick, she was poisoned. This is what is happening to you. Your sensitivity is not a weakness. It is a sign of your expanded awareness. But in an unconscious world, it can feel like a curse. Being in crowds, engaging in small talk, even just being around family can feel like being leeched. You are not imagining it. Unconscious people are energy vampires. They do not do it maliciously. A black hole does not intend to consume a star. It is simply its nature. Unconscious people, trapped in their own needs and fears, unconsciously pull energy from those who have it. The massage therapist didn't quit her job, but she changed everything about how she did it. She learned to create an energetic shield around herself before each session. She visualized her clients' pain leaving their body, but flowing into the earth, not into her. She started spending time alone in nature after work to cleanse her field. She had to withdraw to learn how to manage her gift. You must do the same. Your retreat is not about hiding from people. It is about building your spiritual immune system so you can engage with the world without being destroyed by it. This leads to the most misunderstood part of the journey, the sacredness of solitude. Society has taught you to fear being alone. You think it means you are unloved, unwanted, or a failure. You see a man eating alone in a restaurant and you feel pity for him. You see a woman who spends her weekends reading instead of socializing, and you label her a lonely spinster. You believe this nonsense. You see rest as laziness and you see solitude as a social disease. You are addicted to the drug of doing and the validation of being seen because you are terrified of what you might find if you are ever truly alone with yourself. Think of the entrepreneur. He built a tech company from scratch. He worked 18-hour days for a decade. He was celebrated on magazine covers. He had hundreds of employees and thousands of connections. His life was a whirlwind of meetings, flights, and conferences. Then he sold the company for a fortune. Everyone expected him to start a new venture, to climb an even higher mountain. Instead, he bought a small, simple house by the ocean and disappeared. His phone went unanswered. His social media went silent. His former colleagues whispered that he'd had a breakdown, that he couldn't handle the success. They thought he was running away. He was not running away. He was finally coming home to himself. For the first time in his life, there were no deadlines to meet, no payrolls to make, no expectations to fulfill. There was only the sound of the waves and the rhythm of his own breath. In that silence, all the things he had been running from came to the surface. The grief from his father's death that he never processed. The guilt from a failed marriage he blamed on his work. The deep, hollow feeling of emptiness that all his success could not fill. He walked the beach for hours every day. He learned to cook. He sat in silence. It was the hardest work he had ever done. He was not escaping. He was integrating. He was healing. Your hermit phase is not a failure. It is a promotion. You have graduated from the kindergarten of social distraction. You are now ready for the university of the self. This period of withdrawal is a sacred pilgrimage. It is a time for you to digest your life, to mourn your losses, to shed the skins of your old identities. In the silence, you will finally hear your own inner voice, the one that has been drowned out by the world's noise for years. Do not be afraid of it. It is your truest guide. What is your sanctuary? Describe the place you go to recharge your energy and find silence. Let's share some ideas in the comments. Finally, the retreat is a necessary detox from the collective mind. You think you are an individual thinker, but you are not. From the moment you were born, you have been plugged into a matrix of shared beliefs, anxieties, and desires. The news, social media, advertising, it is all a program designed to keep you in a low-frequency state of fear, outrage, and craving. It is a constant, subliminal hypnosis, and you have been under its spell your entire life. Consider the young woman who was a passionate online activist. Her identity was completely wrapped up in her causes. Her social media feed was a constant torrent of injustice, tragedy, and political outrage. She spent her days in furious online debates, convinced she was fighting for a better world. You think you are staying informed when you doom scroll through bad news for hours. You believe your performative online anger is a form of meaningful action. You are deluding yourself. You are not a warrior for change. You are a free-range battery for a giant, invisible rage machine. This machine feeds on your attention and your emotional energy, and in return, it gives you a cheap hit of self-righteousness. It is an addiction like any other. The activist felt righteous, but she was also miserable. She was anxious, perpetually angry, and felt utterly powerless. The world's problems were so huge, and her online battles felt so small. One day, she realized that her activism wasn't healing the world. It was just destroying her own peace. With trembling hands, she deleted her accounts. The first few days were hell. She felt an intense urge to check the news, to see what new horror she should be angry about. She felt irrelevant and disconnected. Then, something amazing happened. A quiet space opened up in her mind. The constant buzz of outrage was replaced by a gentle silence. She started noticing the world right in front of her. The taste of her morning coffee, the sound of birds outside her window. She felt a call to do something real, something tangible. She started volunteering at a local homeless shelter. Instead of arguing with strangers online about poverty, she was now serving a hot meal to a person who was hungry. The work was small, but it was real. Her anger was replaced by compassion. Her feeling of powerlessness was replaced by a sense of quiet purpose. She did not abandon her desire to help the world. She just unplugged from the illusion of helping and started doing the real thing. Your disappearance is a detox. You must unplug from the machine. Stop letting it feed on you. The world doesn't need another angry comment. It needs another centered, peaceful, and compassionate soul. Your withdrawal from the collective noise is not an act of apathy. It is an act of profound spiritual rebellion. It is you, the chosen one, reclaiming your mind. You have endured the diagnosis. You have embraced the retreat. You have sat in the sacred silence and allowed your old self to fall away. Now, a new question arises, whispered from the depths of your renewed soul. What comes next? You have a secret, foolish fantasy about your return. You imagine walking back into your old life as a transformed being, dazzling everyone with your newfound wisdom. You picture your old colleagues, friends, and family, finally understanding you, finally seeing the light. You think you will return as a king. This is the last gasp of your ego, my friend. Let it go. The return is not a victory parade. It is something far quieter, far more profound, and far more powerful. The king does not return to his old broken castle. He builds a new kingdom. Your return is not a re-entry. You will not merge back into the frantic currents of the mainstream. To do so would be to drown. Instead, you become what can be called a border dweller. You learn to live at the edges of society, present but not participating, available but not absorbed. You are in the world, but you are no longer of it. You have one foot in the dimension of human society and one foot firmly planted in the dimension of the soul. From this position, you can interact without being consumed. You can observe without being entangled. Let us revisit the entrepreneur who disappeared to the sea. After a year of silence and healing, he felt a gentle pull to re-engage. But the thought of returning to the tech world, to the endless cycle of funding and scaling and selling, felt like a violation. You think that to be successful, you must return to the center of the old pyramid, to the game you once mastered. You believe your only value lies in climbing that ladder again. This is your ego's addiction to validation. It craves the glory of a public triumph. The soul desires something else entirely. It desires meaning, not metrics. The entrepreneur did not go back. He sold his large house and kept the small one by the ocean. He began a mentorship program, but it had no website, no branding, no fee. He simply put up a small notice on the community board at the local library. Feeling lost? Let's walk and talk. A few young people, adrift and confused, responded. He would meet them on the beach, and they would walk for an hour. He didn't give them advice. He didn't offer a 5-step plan for success. He simply listened with a depth and presence they had never experienced before. He shared his own stories of failure and emptiness. He created a space where they could hear their own inner voice. His new life was completely invisible to the world that had once called him a genius. But the impact he had on those few young souls was more real and lasting than any app he had ever built. This is the life of a border dweller. It is a life of quiet, profound, and invisible service. When you return, you will find that you speak a new language. The old language of society is the language of debate, judgment, and persuasion. It is a language of the mind, designed to prove who is right and who is wrong. You used to be fluent in this language. You prided yourself on your sharp arguments and your clever comebacks. You are still trapped in this linguistic cage. You believe that truth is a weapon and that you can win people over to your side if you just argue skillfully enough. This is a deep and tragic ignorance. You cannot force a person to see the truth. You can only create the conditions in which they might discover it for themselves. Think of the schoolteacher whose persona shattered. She did not return to the public school system. Its rigid structure and focus on testing felt alien to her awakened self. Instead, she started a small learning circle in her own home. She called it the garden, and she invited parents who felt their children were being crushed by the conventional system. In her garden, there were no grades, no tests, and no competition. She taught botany by planting vegetables. She taught physics by building kites. She taught literature by telling stories around a fire. She spoke the language of wonder, not the language of facts. Her only rule was curiosity. When a child struggled, she did not label them slow. She would ask, "What is this trying to teach us?" When children disagreed, she did not punish them. She would ask, "What is the beautiful truth hidden in both of your feelings?" Some parents thought she was crazy, but the children in her care began to blossom. They were not just learning, they were falling in love with the mystery of existence. They were learning to trust their own minds and hearts. This is the new language. It does not seek to conquer, it seeks to cultivate. It does not provide answers, it invites deeper questions. This leads us to the final, most crucial understanding. Chosen ones, you who are disappearing, are not abandoning the world. You are the architects of the next one. You look at the crumbling institutions of society, the corrupt politics, the soulless corporations, the empty rituals, and you feel despair. You think it is your job to fix it all. You believe you must launch a loud revolution, a grand movement to tear it all down. You are waiting for a savior, a hero to lead the charge. The real revolution is not loud. It is silent. It is not external. It is internal. The hero you are waiting for is you. A spider does not shout at flies, trying to convince them of the brilliance of its web. It simply and silently spins. It creates a new reality, a new structure, a new world. The awakened who disappear are doing the same. The entrepreneur mentoring on the beach, the teacher cultivating wonder in her garden, the massage therapist creating a sacred space for healing. They are not fighting the old world. They are spinning the new one. They are creating parallel structures, conscious pockets in an unconscious society. These pockets are small at first. They are invisible to the mainstream, but they are the seeds of the future. They are the lifeboats in the storm. Your disappearance is not an act of surrender. It is an act of sacred architecture. In your solitude, you are downloading the blueprints for a more humane way of life. When you return, you do not return empty-handed. You bring back the tools and the designs to build something new. You may not build a skyscraper. You may build a simple, sturdy shelter where a few other souls can find refuge. And that is more than enough. The world is not saved by grand gestures. It is saved by the quiet, tireless and loving work of millions of awakened individuals, each building their small corner of the new earth. So if you feel the pull to disappear, I beg you to listen. Do not pathologize it. Do not fight it. It is your soul's calling. It is your initiation into a deeper life. Withdraw consciously. Use your hermit phase to heal, to integrate, to listen. Let the noise of the world fade away so you can hear the music of your own being. And when you are ready, you will return, not as the person who left, but as the person you were always meant to be. You will not return to the center of the madness, but to the quiet edges where the real work is being done. You are not leaving the collective. You are pioneering the path to where it must eventually go. Your disappearance is not an end, it is the beginning.